like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. You sent this Fox News article in about the Ravens beating the Steelers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, well, the headline's all about Derrick Henry going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a huge game, no doubt. But the thing that really jumps out, the thing that makes this win so interesting is how the Ravens did it.
For sure.
299 rushing yards. Can you believe that?
It's wild.
In today's NFL, where everyone's obsessed with passing, that's practically unheard of.
Yeah, it's definitely a statement. You don't see that kind of commitment to the run these days very often. What I find really interesting is that the Ravens have actually built their whole team around this idea of running the ball. You know, this ground and pound philosophy.
So you're saying they're not just doing this because they have to. It's like a strategic choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about controlling the clock, wearing down that defense, and just kind of imposing their will on the other team. It's a bit of a throwback style, but hey, it's working.
And they've definitely got the players to make it work. The article highlights this one drive where Derrick Henry scores a touchdown after 13 plays, and they ran the ball every single time.
Oh, wow.
Imagine trying to stop that.
It's like a battering ram.
I bet.
Just relentless.
I bet.
And Henry is just perfect for that style. You know, he ended up with 186 yards on 26 carries.
Wow.
And you can see in the article how he just wears those defenses down. He's a player to watch for sure as these playoffs keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't just Henry either. The article talks about Lamar Jackson rushing for 81 yards himself.
Right.
So he's not just handing the ball off. He's a threat every time he touches it.
Exactly. That's what makes this Ravens offense so tough to defend. You know, that dual threat ability. Do you try and stop the run or do you try to contain Jackson? It's a real dilemma for those other teams.
And the Steelers just seems lost. They got shut out the whole first half, punted on every single drive. That's total domination.
Yeah, you can see how they controlled the pace of the game, kept the Steelers' offense off the field, and just established themselves early on.
Okay. But the Steelers did try to come back. The article mentions Russell Wilson making some big throws, even what they call a third down dime. What exactly is a dime anyway?
Oh, it's like a perfect pass right on the money, hits the receiver in stride. You know, in this case, it let the Steelers keep that drive going and score a touchdown.
So they showed some fight, but it wasn't enough to overcome that early hole. The article even describes Henry scampering for a 44-yard touchdown, which makes it sound like a walk in the park for him.
Well, it's that explosiveness that makes the Ravens so dangerous. Even when the Steelers seemed to be gaining some momentum, the Ravens always had an answer.
Yeah, and in the end, the Ravens won pretty decisively, 28-14. So we've got this dominant run game, a quarterback who can do it all, and the article even mentions some key stops from their defense. What stood out to you about how the Ravens defense played in this win?
I think they did a really good job containing the Steelers' passing game, especially in the second half when the Steelers were trying to make a comeback. There's this play in the fourth quarter where the Steelers are driving, you know, trying to make it a one-score game.
And the Ravens D just shuts them down, forces a turnover on downs.
Yeah.
That was a huge moment.
So it wasn't just about the Ravens' offense. Their defense also played a big role in this win.
Oh, absolutely. It was a total team effort.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to see this time of year.
For sure. So the Ravens are moving on to the divisional round, and there's still some question about who they'll face. The article mentions the Bills as the likely opponent, but there's also a chance they could end up playing the Texans.
Right.
So you've got this run-heavy team that just steamrolled the Steelers, but are they really built for a deep playoff run?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's interesting because the article kind of touches on that.
Yeah.
It talks about some of the challenges of relying so much on the run, especially against tougher opponents.
Okay, so let's break that down. What are some of the concerns the article brings up?
Well, one thing they point out is that the Ravens might have trouble against teams with really strong run defenses. You know, teams that are built to stop exactly what the Ravens do best. Makes sense. So it's not just about running the ball. It's about being able to run it effectively against specific defenses.
Right.
What else does the article say?
Another point they make is that Lamar Jackson, while he's a fantastic runner, might need to rely more on his passing as the playoffs go on. You can't just be one-dimensional against the really good teams.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So they're saying the Ravens might need to adjust their strategy as they go up against tougher opponents.
Exactly. You got to find that balance. You can't be predictable, especially against defenses that are going to be ready for the run.
Okay, so we know they dominated the Steelers.
Yeah.
But now we got to think about how they match up against these potential opponents in the divisional round. What do we know about the Bills and the Texans? How do they stack up against the Ravens?
Well, the Bills, they're known for their offense.
Right.
A quarterback who can really throw the ball. They've also got a solid defense, but they have shown some weaknesses against the run this season.
So that could be an advantage for the Ravens?
It could be, but the Bills are also well coached. A lot of playoff experience. You can't take them lightly.
For sure.
Yeah.
What about the Texans? What are their strengths and weaknesses?
The Texans are a bit of a wild card. They've been up and down this year.
Yeah.
They've got a talented young quarterback, though, and a defense that can force turnovers. So it could really depend on which Texans team shows up that day.
So each potential matchup presents its own challenges for the Ravens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy for them.
So what does all of this mean for you? What are you watching for as the Ravens move forward in these playoffs? What will tell you if they can adapt and keep winning?
Well, I think a few things. First, can they stay healthy? We talked about Derrick Henry being so important to this offense. If he goes down, it's a whole different story.
That's true. The article did mention how their offense seemed to slow down in the second half. Maybe some fatigue, maybe a little injury. Something to keep an eye on for sure.
Definitely. And then there's Lamar Jackson. Can he step up his passing game when they need it? Can he make those big throws against these really tough defenses? That's going to be key.
So it's not enough to just run over teams like they did the Steelers.
Right. Exactly. They need to be more versatile, more than a one-trick pony. They got to be able to adjust their game plan depending on who they're playing.
The more we talk about this, the more I think this Ravens team is more complex than people realize. It's not just about power. It's about strategy and being able to adapt and having a quarterback who can make plays in different ways.
I totally agree. They have this old school run-first mentality, but they also have the potential to be a really modern and versatile offense.
And we can't forget about their defense. We talked about those big stops against the Steelers. Can they keep playing like that against the Bills' offense or the Texans? And their knack for getting turnovers.
Yeah, that's the other piece of the puzzle. It's going to take a complete team effort if they want to go all the way.
So you sent us this Fox News article wanting to understand the Ravens and how they might do in the playoffs. We've gone over that win against the Steelers, looked at their strengths and weaknesses, and even thought about how they might match up with their next opponent. Now, what are your thoughts? What are your biggest takeaways from this deep dive? What are you thinking about as we head into the divisional round?
This has been a really interesting conversation. I think the main thing I'm taking away is that this Ravens team is one to watch. They're doing things differently, playing a style of football we don't see very often, and they're winning. Can they keep this up? Can they adapt and overcome those challenges? I don't know, but I'm definitely interested to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about. So as you watch those playoff games, pay attention to the things we've talked about. Can the Ravens stay healthy? Can Lamar Jackson make the plays they need? Can their defense keep it up? But keep those questions in mind, and let's see how this crazy playoff ride goes. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have the ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a puppy dog. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.